Hello guys, Standing Simmer here today, and we are back for a house building video in The Sims 4. Now this is another installment of my base game plus series, which I believe I began it was last week. Oh goodness, the days are passing by so quickly. So yeah, this is another limited packs build, and so far I've really been enjoying challenging myself in this way, which ultimately was the goal of this series. I'll explain a little bit more about it here in a second. The name's kind of obvious, but you know, I like to explain things. So yeah, limited backpack builds just to kind of challenge myself to use items in the game and to also build in styles that I'm not very familiar with, and thereby, you know, increase my building skill, hopefully a little bit, and just enjoy using, like I said, items that I've never really used before, because, you know, we all have our go-to items when it comes to building, and sometimes it's hard to break out of that mold, so to speak. So I figured that a challenge like this would be just the thing to kind of get the creative juices flowing, build different kinds of things than what I'm used to, and also use items that I am unaccustomed to using. So yeah, that's what we're doing today. Back at it with another limited packs build. So let me tell you what we're building, give you some details about the build, and also tell you what packs we're using, because obviously that's kind of the exciting part about this. That's the whole point. So this is a townhouse inspired build that I have named the Gardener's Loft, I think. Yeah, Gardener's Loft. For obvious reasons, it is built in the style of a townhouse. It is loft style, which we'll see here in just a minute as we get a little bit more onto the interior. And I built it initially thinking that I wanted a gardener sim to live here. I wanted someone with a green thumb to live here and to enjoy the space. So this townhouse, let me go ahead and just kind of give you this disclaimer right off the bat. The right side of the townhouse, if you're looking at it kind of like we are right now, looking at the front doors, it is meant to be like it's backed up against another townhouse, but the left side of the build is as if this is sitting on the left side at the end of a row of townhouses. So on the right, this was built kind of thinking that there would be someone else right there next to you on the right, but on the left you have a little bit of space to have a bit of a yard and to kind of expand out that direction. So that was kind of my goal here. That's why here in a little while, when you see that I'm kind of decorating and, you know, putting things on the exterior of this house, there isn't really anything at all on the right side, including windows. There are no windows on the right side of this townhouse. So I hope that that makes sense and that you kind of understand what I was going for when it came to this. So like I said, Gardener's Townhouse, the theme will become more and more apparent as we go, hopefully. Gardener's Loft, sorry. And yes, that's what we're doing today. So the packs that I decided to use for this, when I decided that I wanted to do a sort of a townhouse style built for a gardener sim, the packs we're using are, of course, base game, you know, granted. Base game, we're using the expansion Get to Work, the game pack Jungle Adventure, and the stuff pack Romantic Garden. Now, Get to Work I decided I wanted to use because I thought that the industrial style of some of the items would fit really well with kind of what I knew I wanted to go for this build. So that's why Get to Work. Jungle Adventure, I initially thought I wanted to use it for some of the greenery and the plants that we got in the pack, but I end up using very little of that. I mean, there's a little bit of that ivy that you can kind of see right there that I use in a couple of places, but other than that, I use more of the actual items in the pack, like more of the buy items than anything else, honestly. And then, of course, Romantic Garden, because, you know, when you're thinking about a gardener sim, I wanted what little of the garden that this place allowed to have this really gorgeous garden area. So I really enjoyed using all of these packs, especially in conjunction with one another. I think I mentioned this in the last build of this series that I did, but I'm not necessarily sure how many packs I want to limit myself to when it comes to this series. My goal, though, is to use no more than 3 packs in addition to the base game, because I feel like anything more than that, and it's kind of like, it's still technically limited packs, especially given how many packs we have out for The Sims 4 right now. But it doesn't feel very limited packs because, you know, I don't know, just because. So that's kind of what I'm going for right now. I think that no more than 3 packs is going to be what I'm using on top of base game when it comes to these builds, but we'll see how we go. It's possible I might change my mind on that later if it becomes more convenient. Okay, so this part of the build right here, we're doing the loft style area, which is where the this townhouse got its name, Gardener's Loft. And it might look like I came about this very easily, but no, do not be fooled by the footage. Being able to edit clips by cutting them down is a miracle because I spent so long trying to figure out how to make this loft area. I actually got so frustrated at it at one point that I, told my husband, I was like, oh, this is just not working out. He was like, you're really frustrated, aren't you? And I was like, yes, I'm very frustrated. It's not working out the way that I want it to. But I actually ended up, I forget if I looked up a video or an article of how to make a loft style, because I know I've done it in the past. I just don't do it very often. And I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to explain this very well, but essentially you just have to make sure that the area that you want to utilize as the loft is completely roped off with fences, including the part where the stairs will kind of eventually come up to, if that makes sense. And then you remove the ceiling of the other part that you want to actually be the loft, and then add the stairs and progress from there. So that's what I was missing, is I kept trying to add the stairs, but I didn't have it completely fenced off before I tried to remove the ceiling. So I forget, I want to say it was maybe Carl Sims 4 guide where I ended up finding the article that helped me out there. I think it was an article. So hey, that's a little tip for you guys. If you come across a point in building where you're like, oh, this is so frustrating, what do I do? Then sometimes it helps to reach out and look for other ways to try to figure out how to do it, because eventually I got there and it looks really nice. So I'm glad I persevered there and didn't let myself get frustrated to the point that I just decided to cut it all together. So right now we're working on the kitchen area. Oh, let me tell you real quick, like the specs of the build so you can kind of have an idea there. I did build this on a 20 by 15 lot in Newcrest, which I know there are 20 by 15s in other worlds as well, but I built this one specifically in Newcrest. And it ended up having one bedroom, which is the upstairs loft area, and two bathrooms. One which is downstairs and the other which is an ensuite to the loft area. So I actually did cut through both bathrooms as far as furnishing goes, so I hope you guys don't mind that too much. But I did leave the floor plan and the gardening, like the landscaping and stuff, in this video specifically because, well, first of all, there's not much of a floor plan to begin with. There's, like 2 bathroom areas and everything else is pretty open. So that really wasn't that difficult. But then what was I just saying? Oh, then the landscaping. This is a home made for a gardener. So I figured it would be kind of a shame if I had to cut through all the landscaping too. I kind of wanted to see what I was going for and all that good stuff. So yeah, left both of those in this time. So yeah, I hope you don't mind that I did cut out the bathrooms, but there are screenshots at the end, of course, as usual. So if you want to see how they look before you decide whether or not you want to download this, then they will be there. Yeah, I'm putting in the bathrooms here right now, but I totally skipped through the furnishing and all that good stuff. Initially, this was such a mess. Initially, I started building the bathroom. We're way past that point now, but you could see probably there a little while ago that I was trying to put in an archway and then a closed off room where the bathroom is now, because I was thinking, oh, I kind of want to tuck like the laundry area in here somewhere. And I figured if I left just a 1 tile mini room to do that, I could have the washer and dryer stacked and then you would go into the bathroom from there. But then I was like, Mariah, duh, this is a limited packs build and laundry day stuff is not one of the packs that you can use. So I don't know why I went into this thinking, oh yeah, we could totally put a laundry room in here, because that was never going to be the case. But anyways, I did figure that out quickly, but probably not quickly enough. And it just moved on past that and we're good now. So this is the little entrance area. I wanted to make sure that there was like a table where maybe your Sims can throw down random stuff. I also imagined the Sim or Sims who live in this house, because you can fit 2 if you want to. I imagine the Sims, or at least one of them, to have a flair for photography, that maybe they enjoy photography, which I felt like went really well with the theme of a Sim who loved the outdoors as well. It seems like if you enjoy being out in nature, then maybe you also like to photograph nature. And there are a couple pieces I put in later that kind of help to reflect that. This little fun wall decal thing that I was just doing there a second ago, that is not an original idea, but I think I've seen Deligracy do that at some point. And I've done that a couple of times in, a build of mine here or there when I just want kind of a larger wall piece that's decorative. And so those are actually found in wall hangings, I believe, and you can just kind of scatter them around, change the color, and it looks really cool. And no two designs look the same because you can change up the pattern or the colors. And yeah, I've used that a couple of times and it always looks really nice. So I thought it fit the theme well here as well. Just a second ago, you saw me putting all those plants under the stairs, and we'll get back to, you can see it over there just underneath the stairs right now. And I just didn't really know what to do with the stair area because you didn't need to like cross underneath them to get to the living room area. You can go around them to do that. And I needed to just like make sure that there wasn't just a bunch of plants in this build anyway. So that's where a lot of the plants go in this build, right there underneath the stairs. There's just this random mix of them here that I think ended up looking really nice, especially once like the pot colors and stuff were changed as well. Here recently, I've been really into putting tables like that glass table over there underneath a window, maybe between some kitchen countertops, because I love the idea of having like a built-in nook for maybe eating your breakfast or something like that. And it's particularly nice because that particular window looks right out into the garden area. So I figured that either the Sim or Sims who live here might enjoy just sitting at this table instead of at the more formal dining table across the way and maybe eating their breakfast and enjoying a cup of coffee perhaps. And that was just a really nice space for them. So yeah, I really like doing that in my builds, and it seems to turn out pretty well most of the time at least. Just putting in some rugs here. I've been lamenting here recently the fact that I have to, I don't know, I feel like some of the base game rugs especially are kind of limited in swatch and ability to be used in a lot of different ways, but I've been sizing down those circular rugs or maybe stacking and layering them together, and they tend to look pretty nice when they end up that way. I've been doing that a lot in bathrooms here recently, and then in this build I put them under the dining room table, which you saw just a second ago. I put 3 of them down. One of them was quite a bit smaller than the other ones, and then they were all 3 different colors. And I thought that looked really nice because there are a lot of like more square or rectangular rugs around the dining room area. So I didn't necessarily want to throw just another one of those rugs in here. And so I thought the circles were nice because they add a little bit of a change of dimension to the floor plan, or at least the build itself as far as furnishing goes. And I thought that looked really nice when it turned out too. It's so weird. Like I feel like this whole speed build, a lot of my speed builds are just me telling you what I'm doing and then saying afterwards, oh, I think it turned out really nice. It's like, well, yeah, I do think it turned out nice, but I don't necessarily need to say that every 2 seconds. Anyways, there on the stool, what I've just placed is a camera for your Sim. That's kind of where the idea was born, that maybe they really like photography. I don't know if I've done it yet or not. Yes, I have. I also raised up that old camera looking decor item up on top of the fridge just to kind of fill the space, but that kind of contributed to the fact that maybe a Sim who lives here likes photography, and I thought that maybe they would like to have one camera that they use themselves and then maybe another one that's a bit vintage or more of a collector's item perhaps, and that's the one that's raised up on top of the fridge. So I just thought that was kind of cool. That was actually something that developed while I was in the building process. It's not something I intended to do initially. So yeah, I think that turned out really nice. Oh, there I go again. I just say, hey, I think that turned out really nice. Oh my goodness. I'm going to have to come up with something else to say when it comes to that sort of thing, because it just sounds weird for me to say that, but I do like the way it looks. I like to think I wouldn't necessarily do a speed build of something that I didn't like the way it turned out, but I don't know. I've not really gotten to that point yet as far as my speed builds go. So we'll have to see what happens when we get to that point. So on to the upstairs loft area, which, like I said, is composed of the bedroom. I skipped here because I think I was decorating the upstairs bathroom during that time. So that's why the skip. Decorating this area up here, and I think that this is a cool like loft area. I like the idea of using lofts in builds. It's not ridiculously practical for more long-term gameplay, I guess, because I don't know, when I have a single Sim or a couple Sim, it's usually not too long before I have them start a family, and it would be kind of difficult, I think, to have a family in this build unless perhaps you got rid of the loft area altogether. Maybe you could just extend the floor and then create rooms up on the top floor, maybe leaving the stairs where they are. That would technically work, I think, but part of the appeal of this build to me is that it is a loft. So I don't know if you'll have any Sims that you think you would like to live here, but it's available if you do have those Sims. Speaking of which, this is available on the gallery before I forget to say that completely like I usually do. My user on the gallery is standingsimmer, and I always put them under the hashtag standingsimmer as well. I felt so bad because, well, backing up real quick, I recorded, you know, the main part of the build, but then when I went in later to move my sim in and to take the screenshots and all that good stuff, I did a little bit of piddling and just like randomly tossed a plant outside near, like on the balcony area there, just outside the master. And then I uploaded it to the gallery, didn't think a thing of it, and I came back into the gallery later on and realized that the plant I had put out there was from another pack altogether. Like I totally spaced and forgot for a minute that I was trying to limit myself with packs. And so I had to take it back off the gallery. Like 20 something people had already downloaded it. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I lied in the description. So then I removed the plant, replaced it with like one or two others that were for sure from one of the packs that I was trying to use, and re-uploaded it. So it is there with just, you know, it is now accurately only using the 3 packs that I told you about earlier: Get to Work, Jungle Adventure, and Romantic Garden, and all is well with the world again. But I felt really bad there for a second because I was like, oh, I used that, just that one item, and boom, introduced a new pack right away. So yes. So here I am putting in a little desk area because I figured that the Sims that live here would probably need access to a desk if they, you know, needed to maybe get their fun up and didn't want to use the TV or something like that. It's just handy for me to have an office area in a lot of my builds, so I try to stick one in where I can. And so that's what this guy is here. And I put it on an angle kind of there in front of the window because I didn't want everything to be so flat against the wall. And that actually does work. When I move my sim in here to take the screenshots, I just go ahead and have her player test things most of the time because I want to make sure that if something's slightly questionable, it will still work. So yes, you can still use the desk. You can still get into the bathroom from there, which is just the door beyond it. And so there should be no issues at all. Like I said, I've tested everything in this house that was kind of questionable, including like the stool underneath the table in the kitchen, and the punching bag that's downstairs, and the bookcase that's in the corner over there. I mean, some of those things to a few, you might be like, well, there doesn't look like there'd be an issue getting to that, but I just like to check just in case, because it is like sometimes sort of frustrating when you download something from the gallery and it looks really, really nice, but your sim cannot function in it, you know, whatever it is, the build or the community lot, you know, whatever. Yeah, so I like to, if something's a little iffy, I like to try to player test it if I can. So it is player tested. We are good to go, guys. No worries. And we're moving on, of course, to the garden area. We've been here for a second or two, but I've just been like jibber-jabbering away. Like I said, the sim or sims who live here, I figured really liked to have a garden. And even though for some reason they live in this more townhouse area that under some circumstances might prevent them from having a nice garden, I did imagine that they lived on the end of a row of townhouses and had just a little, like kind of a back and a side yard, and that's where they do their gardening. So just furnishing, or well, putting down plants in this little back corner area that's just outside one of the set of windows from the living room. And eventually here in a little while, I put like a little bench out there as well, and just for a bit of a sitting area for your sims as well. Yeah, there it is. There's the bench right there. I put several planter boxes out, which you can see that I've already placed. And later on, I add a couple of the single planter boxes as well. Just because I figured that if you're going to be a gardener sim, then why not just kind of go all out and make sure that you have plenty of room to put down your plants. So yeah, that's what we're doing out here in the yard. There we go. I had to move them over because I didn't like how congested it was right there when you come out that side door, which is the only access to the garden, by the way. Now, to be fair, when my sim was here and I was taking the screenshots, she did just walk right through that row of bushes because there actually isn't a fence through that row of bushes, like the hedges there on the side. So maybe your sim could just walk right through off the side, but as far as like actual building access goes, the way you get into the yard is from the door that's there on the side of the townhouse, not really from any other place. So placing down some rocks here amongst the landscaping just to kind of give it a bit more realism. I liked using the mixture of plants from all of the different packs that we had. So not only like I said, didn't really end up using a ton of Jungle Adventure for the outdoors, except like the climbing vines there. But I also use, like, of course, a lot of romantic garden stuff, like that's a given. But and then also just like some good old base game plants. I mean, they're not really too bad, honestly, when it comes down to it. So here I thought it would be nice to have that bit of growth there on the outside. And the swatches for those vines are so pretty. Like, I'm gonna have to use the purple and the red eventually because they look really, really nice. But I thought the white looked, there was kind of a nice like juxtaposition between the brick and the, I don't know, like the more harsh design, I guess, of industrial, and like all the woods and the darks. And then there's just these gorgeous white flowers that are climbing up the top of the, or the side of the building. And I just think that that looked really nice. Just putting some dirt around the townhouse just to kind of make it look a bit more realistic. And yeah, that's getting like really, really close here to the end of the build as well. Oh, I did want to tell you guys that I, after I moved the build here, just in a second, I did go onto the gallery and I not only placed some custom like garden pictures, which you're seeing probably right about now, inside as well. Like these are, okay, these are, to the best of my understanding, pictures that have been taken with a camera or painted perhaps on an easel from someone's sim. So they're like paint from reference or taking a photo of plants in the game, and then that's how you're able to get these really kind of cool custom looking pieces of artwork. So obviously they're not custom content, they are made within the game, but I thought they looked really nice in this build because it is a gardener's place and the place of someone who likes photography and art as well. So I thought that that would be kind of a nice little addition here too, just to make it a bit more unique and just to kind of liven it up a bit with more of the green. And I also place a lot of plants from the gallery as well. So this actually comes fully equipped with a garden already, guys. And we're already to the screenshots. I've, yammered on long enough. Thank you again so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate all of the interaction that you've given me and for all the love that you've shown me here on just these first few weeks since I've started YouTube. I think I say this like every video, but I don't know, it just makes me happy to create content for you guys because, I'm going to be playing the game anyway, and to interact with you more in the comments and on other platforms as well. Speaking of which, you can follow me over on Twitter at standingsimmer. But I'm going to go ahead and leave you off right here, guys. Again, thanks for watching. I appreciate it so, so much. I hope you're having the best of days, and I will speak to you very soon. Bye. I'm so happy I can't